In this life, there comes a moment when you finally realize that no one is coming to save you, no one is coming to push you, no one is coming to force you to grow, and at that exact moment, something powerful awakens inside you, something that has been sleeping for years under fear, doubt, heartbreak, and disappointment, and this inner awakening becomes the turning point that separates your past from your future. Because the truth is that every struggle you have faced, every tear you have shed, every betrayal you have endured, and every failure you thought would destroy you was actually shaping you into the person you needed to become, and when you look back you begin to understand that nothing was wasted, nothing was meaningless, nothing was accidental, because life was preparing you for a level that only strong hearts can reach, and as you take a deep breath and allow yourself to feel your own pain, strength, scars, and survival, you realize that you are not weak for struggling, you are powerful for still standing, still breathing, still fighting, and still hoping, even after moments that could have broken you completely, and when this truth hits your soul, you begin to see that life is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect opportunity, it is about creating your own moment and turning the smallest opportunity into something extraordinary. Because the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is not talent or intelligence but the courage to take action when fear is loud, the courage to believe when evidence is missing, and the courage to keep going when the whole world expects you to fall, and as you step into this mindset your energy starts to change, your confidence starts to build, your vision becomes clearer, your focus becomes sharper, and you begin to understand that your life is not defined by the things that happen to you but by the decisions you are making right now, in this very breath, in this very heartbeat. And you realize that the universe does not reward the strongest or the smartest, the universe rewards the most consistent, the one who shows up again and again even when tired, even when afraid, even when unsure, because consistency builds discipline, discipline builds character, and character builds a destiny that no obstacle can destroy, and as this fire grows inside you, you begin to transform from someone who hopes life gets better into someone who makes life better, from someone who waits for motivation into someone who creates motivation, from someone who fears failure into someone who uses failure as fuel. And with every step you take on this path you start to see that success was never far away, it was waiting behind your persistence, hiding behind your fears, sleeping behind your excuses, and the moment you decide to take full responsibility for your growth, everything around you begins to shift, your opportunities expand, your relationships improve, your clarity increases, your purpose strengthens. And you begin to feel a power inside you that nothing in the world can silence. Because once a human being learns their own worth, once they understand that their past mistakes do not define their future, once they realize that their pain was preparation and not punishment, they become unstoppable, unbreakable, unshakable, and at that point life stops being something they endure and becomes something they design, shape, and conquer, and in this new chapter you will realize that your dreams were never too big, you were just trying to pursue them with a small version of yourself, and now that you are rising, now that you are awakening, now that you are becoming the strongest version of who you are meant to be, the world will have no choice but to open doors for you, because a determined soul cannot be denied, a disciplined mind cannot be defeated, and a fearless heart cannot be controlled, and as you move forward with this unstoppable spirit, remember one truth that will carry you through every battle. Life doesn't give you what you want, life gives you what you fight for, and you are finally ready to fight for the life you deserve. There comes a moment in every person's life when they finally stop looking backward, stop replaying old failures, stop carrying old wounds, and stop letting yesterday control tomorrow, and when this moment arrives, something extraordinary begins inside you. Your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes lighter, your energy becomes sharper, and your entire direction begins to shift. Because the truth is that the past is a place of lessons, not a place of living, and the more you keep holding on to the things that hurt you, the more you delay the things that can heal you. But the day you decide to let go of what broke you, your future starts to grow like a seed finally given sunlight. And Arav realized this when he sat alone under the night sky thinking about all the mistakes he once believed had ruined his life, lost chances, foolish decisions, wrong people, painful endings. And he understood that none of those things were meant to destroy him, they were meant to teach him, sharpen him, and prepare him for the greatness he was about to step into, because the universe cannot elevate someone who still sees themselves through the eyes of the past. And as he breathed deeply, he felt a powerful truth sink into his soul. You cannot change what happened, but you can change who you become. And this truth freed him from every chain he had built in his own mind, every regret he held on to, every memory that drained him, and every emotion that kept him small. Because the moment you detach yourself from your past identity, your real identity begins to rise, stronger, wiser. Arav walked through the quiet early morning streets where the world was still half asleep, and as he moved step by step, he realized that for most of his life he had been doing only one thing: surviving, just surviving through pain, surviving through stress, surviving through disappointment, surviving through heartbreak, surviving through failures. And he suddenly felt a deep truth rising inside him like a roar. Human beings were not created just to survive. Human beings were created to grow, to rise, to conquer, to evolve, and to become something far greater than their circumstances. And as he stood near the empty road, he understood that survival feels safe, but it also keeps you small. Survival feels comfortable, but it also keeps you stuck. Survival feels familiar, but it will never take you to the life you dream about. And he realized he had spent too much time settling for less, accepting less, living below his potential, and pretending that being okay was enough, when deep inside he knew he deserved a life that was full of purpose, power, achievement, passion, and freedom. And he understood that the moment you stop settling for survival and demand more from yourself, everything begins to shift. Your thoughts shift, your habits shift, your confidence shifts, your energy shifts, and your entire destiny begins to transform. Because the universe never gives greatness to someone who thinks they deserve only minimum. And as he walked further, he remembered all the times he told himself, "This is enough," even when his soul whispered, "You were meant for more." And he finally saw that the only thing standing between him and the life he wanted was his own belief that he wasn't capable, ready, or worthy. And when this realization hit him hard, he felt something powerful ignite inside him, a hunger he had ignored for years, a hunger for growth, for success, for discipline, for purpose, and for a life that didn't feel like a constant battle but a meaningful journey. And he decided that from this day forward he would no longer wake up just to go through the motions. He would no longer accept a life that felt small and predictable, because he finally understood that the people who change their lives are not the people with the best opportunities. They are the people who decide that survival is no longer enough, and they step into a new version of themselves even when fear tries to hold them back. And he realized that he had survived too much to stay stuck. He had suffered too much to accept average, and he had learned too much to remain the same. And with every breath he felt a new power replacing the old fear, and he told himself that from today he would not survive his life. Arav sat alone on the rooftop that evening, staring at the sky, and as the wind touched his face, he suddenly realized a truth that hit him deeply. People always want to appear strong in front of others, but real strength, real transformation, real success, and real victory are created in the moments when no one is watching, in the moments when the room is silent and it is just you and your reality, when there is no applause, when there is no guidance, when there is no one to motivate you, and all you have are your habits, your discipline, and your mindset. He understood that the world judges people by results, but the real champions are those who prepare in the dark, who build themselves quietly, who work without noise, who shape their future in silence, because those hidden hours, those difficult decisions, those lonely nights, those moments of self-control, those steps forward when giving up feels easier, these are the moments that hold the power to change your entire life. And the realization hit him that nobody is watching is not a reason to stop, it is the greatest opportunity to grow, because when you are alone, you can decide the direction of your life without pressure, without comparison, without distraction. In the crowd anyone can pretend to be brave, but when your alarm rings in the morning and no one sees whether you wake up or not, that's where your discipline is tested. When you put down your phone to study and no one is monitoring you, that's where your future grows. When you control your anger even though no one will praise you for it, that's where your strength builds. When you take one more step forward even though quitting feels easier, that's where your future changes. Arif realized that his life wouldn't change on some big day or through some grand achievement, it would change through those invisible decisions he makes every single day. And he decided from that moment onward that he would no longer underestimate those hidden hours, he would treat them as the most powerful time of his life, time where his character forms, his confidence sharpens, and his abilities evolve. He understood that whether the world claps for him or not, he would keep moving, keep working, keep improving, because his battle wasn't to impress others, it was to build himself. And standing under that quiet sky, he whispered to himself that even if the world never sees his effort, he will still give it everything he has, because applause doesn't build the future, discipline does. As Arif continued his journey, he began to understand something that most people never realize in their entire lifetime. Life does not give you what you wish for, it gives you what you are prepared for, what you are disciplined for, what you have grown into, because every dream you chase requires a stronger, wiser, more focused version of you, and until you become that version, the dream will not open its doors. He realized that people often pray for success while holding on to the same habits that destroy their potential. They want a new life but continue with the same old thinking, same excuses, same fear, same lack of discipline, and he understood that to receive a bigger life, you must first enlarge your mindset, upgrade your habits, refine your character, and become the kind of person who can handle the blessings you are asking for. As he walked along the quiet forest path, he thought about how many times he wanted better things but wasn't ready for them, he wanted opportunity but didn't prepare, he wanted love but didn't heal, he wanted wealth but didn't change his habits, he wanted respect but didn't strengthen his discipline, and now he finally saw the truth. Life waits for you to transform before it rewards you. Every challenge you face is a mirror showing you what you need to work on, every setback is a lesson preparing you, every delay is a sign that you still have some growth left to do, and when you stop complaining and start learning from these experiences, life begins to shift. Arif decided that instead of chasing success directly, he would build himself into someone unstoppable, someone who wakes up with purpose, someone who doesn't break under pressure, someone who keeps moving even without motivation, someone who leads his mind instead of being controlled by it. He knew that the world does not change for you, you change and the world responds. So he made a promise to himself, to upgrade his discipline, to sharpen his focus, to control his emotions, to train his mind, and to build the strongest version of himself, because he understood that the person he becomes will decide the life he receives. And with that realization burning inside him, Arav walked forward with a new confidence, knowing that every step he takes toward becoming his best self is a step toward the future he once believed was impossible. Arav continued walking through the forest until he reached a place where the path became steep and rocky, and with every difficult step he took, he realized something profound. The struggle he was facing right now was not a punishment, not a sign of weakness, not a reason to quit, but a necessary training ground preparing him for the future he was praying for. He finally understood that every challenge life gives you carries a purpose. Every obstacle strengthens a part of you that you will need later, every hardship shapes your character, every setback teaches you a lesson that will protect you in the future. Most people ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But Arav learned to ask, "What is this teaching me?" Because he realized that life never wastes pain, it always uses it to grow you, to refine you, to expand your capacity. As he continued climbing, his legs burned, his breath grew heavy, and doubt tried to whisper in his mind, but instead of collapsing, he kept going because he understood that struggle is not a sign to stop, it is a sign that you are leveling up. Just like a sword becomes sharp only when hammered by fire, the human spirit becomes powerful only when shaped by difficulty. He remembered all the times he cried, all the nights he couldn't sleep, all the days he felt lost, and he realized that those moments didn't break him, they prepared him. They built his resilience, deepened his patience, strengthened his focus, and made him capable of handling what he once thought was impossible. And as he reached the top of the rocky slope, he understood something clearly: tomorrow's strength is being built by today's struggle. If you avoid difficulty, you avoid growth. If you escape challenges, you escape transformation. Arav decided that from now on, he would not fear struggle, he would embrace it, because it was sculpting him into someone greater. He whispered to himself that every pain he endures, every challenge he survives, every barrier he breaks is adding a new chapter to his strength, and one day he will look back and thank these moments for shaping him. With a renewed fire inside him, he walked forward knowing that he was not being tested to break, he was being trained to rise. Arav reached a quiet valley where the wind moved gently through the tall grass, and as he stood in the silence, he realized that the biggest battle he had fought in his entire life was not against circumstances, not against people, not against failure, but against his own self-doubt, because every dream he ever wanted, every opportunity he ever feared to take, every step he hesitated to make was blocked not by the world but by his own belief that he wasn't good enough, strong enough, smart enough, worthy enough. And at that moment he finally understood that nothing changes in life until you change the way you see yourself. He remembered how many times he looked at others and thought they were better, more capable, more talented, but now he saw the truth: the only difference between the people who rise and the people who stay stuck is belief. Belief turns ordinary people into leaders, belief turns fear into courage, belief turns small steps into giant leaps, belief turns dreams into realities. As the sunlight warmed his face, Arav realized that if he kept doubting himself, you are powerless, life will prove you right, but if you tell yourself you are capable, life will open doors you never imagined. He recalled how Archangel Michael had guided him earlier, telling him that every human being is born with a divine spark, a purpose, a strength that waits to be awakened, and now Arav felt that spark glowing inside him. He decided that from this moment onward he would no longer seek permission from others to chase his dreams, he would no longer wait for validation, he would no longer fear judgment, because belief is not something the world gives you, it is something you build inside yourself every single day. Standing tall, he whispered to the wind that he would rise, not because everything was easy, but because he finally believed he could. And with that belief burning fiercely in his heart, he stepped forward knowing that the moment you believe in yourself, the world begins to believe in you, opportunities begin to align. The Beatles did not just create music, they reshaped the cultural identity of an entire generation and left a worldwide influence that continues even today. Their arrival in America in 1964 through The Ed Sullivan Show marked a cultural explosion that changed fashion, haircuts, freedom of expression, and youth confidence forever. Millions of young people started believing that creativity, self-expression, and artistic risk were not only acceptable but powerful. John Lennon's lyrical depth, Paul McCartney's emotional melodies, George Harrison's spiritual influence, and Ringo Starr's unique drumming made them a symbol of artistic unity. They pushed boundaries by mixing rock, pop, Indian classical, psychedelia, and orchestral music, which helped new genres emerge. They inspired countless artists, from Michael Jackson, Queen, and Elton John to today's modern stars like Coldplay, Ed Sheeran, Billie Eilish, and Harry Styles. Even filmmakers and writers took inspiration from their imaginative storytelling, especially from albums like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Abbey Road, which introduced the idea that an album could be a complete story rather than random songs. The Beatles also influenced global peace movements, especially through songs like Imagine and All You Need Is Love, which became anthems for unity and hope. Their focus on love, freedom, creativity, and spiritual exploration encouraged young people around the world to dream bigger and express themselves without fear. Today their music is studied in universities, heard in movies, referenced in pop culture, and covered by artists everywhere. Even new generations who were born decades after the band ended still feel their magic. The Beatles became more than musicians, they became a timeless symbol of change, innovation, and human connection, leaving a legacy that will continue to shape future generations for centuries. The Beatles' legacy continues because they were not only musicians but innovators who constantly changed the rules of what music could be, and Part 9 explores why their influence will never fade and how their creative spirit still shapes the world today. Their groundbreaking studio experiments, like reversing tapes, layering multiple vocals, inventing new recording techniques, and adding unusual instruments, set a blueprint for every modern producer, from hip-hop to EDM to cinematic music. They were the first band to treat the studio as an instrument, which allowed future artists to imagine sound more like painting than performing. Even today, top producers study how the Beatles created depth, emotion, and surreal soundscapes without digital tools. Their ability to reinvent themselves with every album, from the innocence of A Hard Day's Night to the psychedelic colors of Revolver and Sgt. Pepper, to the emotional maturity of Let It Be and Abbey Road, showed the world that artists should never stay in one box. This opened doors for modern musicians like Kanye West, Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, and The Weeknd to evolve their style without fear. The Beatles also revolutionized album art, global touring, music videos, merchandising, and fan culture, shaping the modern entertainment industry. Their personalities became blueprints for band chemistry, the visionary, John, the melodic genius, Paul, the spiritual thinker, George, and the joyful heartbeat, Ringo. Beyond music, their messages of peace, imagination, and global unity continue to inspire social movements, humanitarian efforts, and spiritual seekers around the world. Schools teach their lyrics as literature, scientists reference their creativity as proof of human ingenuity, and millions still find healing and emotional comfort in their music. Their songs are streamed billions of times, used in films and advertisements, and introduced to new generations through games, VR, documentaries, and remastered albums. The Beatles lasted only 10 years, yet they changed the next 100 years of culture. Their legacy remains alive because their music touches something universal: hope, wonder, love, freedom, and the belief that creativity can transform the world. And as long as humanity exists with dreams, struggles, love, and imagination, the Beatles will continue to echo across time, shaping hearts, inspiring art, and reminding people everywhere that anything is possible when you dare to create without limits.